coming up on Theater Talk.
When you sing Will You Still Love Me Tomorrow, every woman of a certain age in the theater weeps at that song.
It's the wildest feeling, and on stage, as a character in the moment, I can't take that in.
Right.
But there's a little part of me that goes,
Yep.
okay, they got it.
I hear that song, Susan, and I think this is I love musical theater, but that is to me the song that exemplifies Broadway.
Yes.
Called On Broadway.
And it made us all want to come here and take a shot.
Absolutely, absolutely. So,
so here we are.
That makes me so happy.
I've
loved
you
Broadway.
should have written musicals.
I've loved Broadway my whole life, and that's why I wrote that song.
And if she's happy, I'm happy.
All right.
So from New York City, this is Theater Talk. I'm Susan Haskins.
And I'm Michael Riedel of the New York Post, and I am delighted to have two of my favorite songwriters of all time. Cynthia Weil, great lyricist in the tradition of Larry Hart, I must say. And Barry Mann, who has written some of my favorite songs of all time, including On Broadway. They have a terrific show on Broadway now called Beautiful at the Stephen Sondheim Theater. I think, Susan, you agree with me, it's pretty much the best musical, I think, of the season.
It's a wonderful musical.
She's being diplomatic.
I'm being
I can
diplomatic.
Say. It's the best musical of the season. It's the story of Carole King, but instrumental in Carole's life, of course, were Barry and Cynthia, and we're delighted to have you on Theater Talk today.
Thank you. We are so happy to be here.
All right, so can you give us your first impression of little Carole King there in 1650 Broadway, when you were all kids writing songs?
Well, Barry actually met her before
I met
we
her.
were writing together.
I was working for a little publishing company called Round Music, and I went up to play a song for, I remember the man's name, Mickey Addy at Dot Records. And so I was in the waiting room, and there was this girl who must have been about 15, 16 years old, in jeans, and I just started a conversation with her. And she was the most confident little girl that I ever bumped into. And so we talked for a little bit, and then I had to go inside. And as I went inside, I said, by the way, what's your name? And she said, it's Carole King. And I thought to myself, I said, if this girl does have talent, she will be giant. And that's what happened.
I met her when I came up to Alden Music, hoping to write with Barry, but Donnie put me with Carole.
Don Kirshner.
Yes, because Jerry was working, her husband and co-writer, was working as a chemist during the day. And Kirshner said to me, she can only write at night. She should be writing during the day. You could write with her during the day. And so this little girl came in, and I actually remember she had a Band-Aid on her knee. I mean, she looked about 12.
What amazes me about this whole world you guys were living in, 1650 Broadway, Don Kirshner's factory, really, is that you guys were in offices, like an office job. And somebody would say, we need a song for the Shirelles. We need a song for...
It wasn't really quite like that. We had little cubicles, which had a piano and a piano bench, a chair, and an ashtray. So they weren't offices. They were just little writing prisons.
There were rooms for us to get cancer. Yes. We were constantly smoking.
And
there were
inhaling each other's smoke.
But could you hear the competitors
yes.
writing the songs? You could hear
Yes.
Carole and Jerry down the hallway.
How affected were you by your competitive spirit?
Oh, my God.
Fantastically.
We really were. We were killers.
You were killers.
Oh,
Right.
I mean, we really
And
were.
Jerry was a killer. I think Carole kind of went along with the killing because Jerry wanted it.
Right. And I didn't realize how much of a killer he was till the show, till Beautiful. I mean, I didn't realize that Jerry was thinking, hey, we got to go see acts, and, you know, we got to write new stuff.
We never thought that.
Jerry really thought about, let's find new groups.
Where's the music going next?
Yes.
We never thought about that. We just kind of wrote what we wanted to write.
Stupid us.
Kind of
just
the
went
stupid ones.
Imagine.
They were the smart ones.
All right, you started us with On Broadway. Could we get you to do On Broadway? And also, just if you could tell us sort of how you came to write this song, the inspiration for it.
Actually, Carole and Jerry were recording a group called the Cookies, and they needed another song, and they couldn't come up with it. So they were desperate enough to come to us, and we wrote this song called On Broadway for a girls group, which was about a young girl in a small town
Could I
wanting
do
to
just
come.
one verse of that? Would you allow me to do just one verse of it?
I guess so.
Let's see if I remember it, though. I hear the neon lights of Brightwood on Broadway. I hear that dreams come true there every day. I hear that life don't get you down the way it gets you in this small town. I swear I gotta get me there someday. That was the
beginning.
gist of
The beginning.
right. It had a whole different feel to it, a whole different lyrical point of view.
Right. So, so in other words, you're saying that it was a small town girl dreaming of coming here.
yes.
Because the way I know it is Ben Vereen from all that jazz, the Fosse movie, which is like this is the anthem of Broadway.
Yes.
We've already made it here.
Michael's such a child, but what was the what was the version that I listened to as a teenager?
Now, what happened, if you want to tell the story,
Was
Cynthia,
that we knew that the Drifters were recording, and we somehow thought maybe we could turn this into a male song. And so we went up to Lieber and Stoller's office and played it for them, and they said, look, we're interested. You can either go home and rewrite this lyric, or you can rewrite it with us. And not thinking any of this was going to live very long, we said, you're our idols, guys. We will rewrite it with you.
We jumped
and
at it.
we jumped at it. And it was like a lesson in songwriting. It was fantastic, and that's how the song evolved to what the Drifters finally recorded.
It was just the writing process with them was so different than Cynthia's and my writing process. Cynthia, you have to write the first verse, and when that's done, you
She's
go
a
to the next verse.
in the air.
A bit compulsive.
Yes.
And when we started writing with them, I mean, we'd write two lines, and we get stuck on the third line, and Jerry would say, let's go to the next verse, and we'd jump to the next verse. I mean, it was so exciting. And he'd throw out lines, and the lines that came out were great. I mean, really, really great. On Broadway is really just one verse sung over and over again. And I didn't realize that. And Mike Stoller said, you know, why don't we modulate on each
Can you show?
verse?
Give us an example.
Say, well, I swear I'm gonna get me there someday. No. They say the women treat you fine on Broadway. Second verse. Then the last verse is they say that I won't last too long. So they go. I say I'm in the key of V. I start in the key of V. We end up in the key of G flat. You know. So and it really is much
Why
more.
didn't we write a bridge?
I don't know. We never wrote a bridge. Let's write one now.
Okay, go ahead. We've seen the great talents.
What would we have said?
I have no
that's
idea.
an interesting concept.
I have no idea.
So I'm gonna get me there someday. Gonna get me there. Gotta get me there.
You're doing the fade.
That sounds more like a fade.
But you know, it's interesting though because with these great pop songs, as we call them now, I think they're more complicated than we think they are. With all the stuff that's going on in a lot of your musically and lyrically.
Yeah, and Barry evolved from
Yeah.
writing simply to writing more and more
My
complex.
first song was Soft Eyes Look Up at Mine, Meeting Eyes Above. Miss tenderness, the sweet lips whisper love. This must be that ecstasy.
Is it fair to say though, when Cynthia came into your life, she brought a little more, I don't know, sophistication because you loved Larry Hart and Rodgers and Hammerstein and Cole Porter, and you, I believe, wanted to write musicals. You wanted to write in that
I wanted to
style.
write for theater, and I was signed to Frank Lesser's publishing company.
Right.
And then I met Barry, and he dragged me down to the depths of rock and roll. and he actually said, you know, I think you could combine what you're doing that's kind of theatrical with rock and roll music, and this is what you should listen to. And he gave me the Everly Brothers, and he gave me the Drifters, and gave me a lot of things.
Did you like that stuff, or were you a little reluctant at first?
Look, I liked him. Anything he liked, I would have
Everybody
liked.
likes me.
If he had said, let's take up serial killing,
And were you a Broadway fan, or was that sort of old-fashioned, your mother's
Like,
music?
you know, son, I didn't realize it, but I liked a lot of Broadway music. I just didn't know who wrote it. I mean, I evidently loved Larry Hart I love
Oscar Hammerstein and Richard Rodgers.
Richard Rodgers is such a great melody writer. He's
Yeah.
fantastic. But you know, I would hear the songs, but I wouldn't know who wrote them. So I really was a fan. But once rock and roll hit, that
became
pulled me
his
in.
world.
Right.
Became my world.
We can't let you go without a couple more songs, if you don't mind. You've got,
sure.
what do you have for us? You've got...
Somewhere out there.
Oh, we love that. So that, from the Disney movie.
From the Disney.
No, it's not Disney.
No.
It's actually was an Amblin movie executive produced by Steven Spielberg.
Oh,
And it came out at a time when animation was dead.
Right,
Yes,
right.
yes.
And it was this little movie about two Jewish mice, American
American
Tail,
Spelled
T-A-I-L.
Yes, I remember.
And we were told that it wasn't important for us to have a hit or write a hit song, that we just had to write for character. And we ended up writing a song that won us 2 Grammys. So
For Jewish mice.
for
Yes.
Jewish mice. We've been hunting for more Jewish mice to write for, but I think they got out of the business after
And the
that.
Yiddish version is fantastic.
All right, now, somewhere out there in Yiddish.
Oy vey. Anyway. Somewhere out there, beneath the pale moonlight, someone's thinking of me and loving me tonight. Somewhere out there, someone's saying a prayer that we'll find one another in that big somewhere out there. And even though I know how very far apart we are, it helps to think we might be wishing on the same bright star. And when the night wind starts to sing a lonesome lullaby, it helps to think we're sleeping underneath the same big sky. Somewhere out there, if love can see us through, then we'll be together. Somewhere out there, out where dreams come true.
Beautiful.
Wonderful,
Beautiful.
wonderful.
Now, when you're writing a song like that, you guys you're sitting in the house, right? And you're doing the verse and you're doing the music. And I assume it's not which comes first, music or lyrics. You guys write same time, sort of. Yeah. When do you know, just the way you ended there, I was curious, you finish, you think, that's a good song. Is there a click? Is there something that you guys know we've done a good job with this one? Boom.
You know, let me tell you how that one was written. That was, you know, we also wrote it with James Horner, brother, who scored the film.
Yeah.
And that was the first attempt of us all writing together. And we said, well, you go home, you write, and I'll go home and I'll write. And we'll just see what, you know, for this scene, which is a scene that they had in the script. It was called The Mouse and the Moon, by the way.
That was supposed to be the title of the song.
It wasn't.
And I called up and said, do I have to use that title? And they said, no, 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 you can come up with one of your own.
So what happened, I went home and I wrote, that was my melody. And he came in with, and I said,
So we put them together.
I said, that really fits as a bridge. And he agreed with us. Once it was done, we knew it was a good song. We didn't think it was a hit song.
Right.
Yeah.
That song could have been written in the 40s or in the 50s
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
really look at it.
Yeah. Finally, after the show Beautiful's been running on Broadway, Carole finally came to see the show the other
yes,
night
yes.
and went on stage.
Yes.
Now I'd heard, I think I reported in my column, it was too painful for her to relive some of this period.
Yes.
Were you instrumental in convincing her to finally come and take a look at this show?
No, I have to tell you that no one can convince Carole to do anything. She's on her own time schedule, and I really understood the way she felt. This, you know, our role in the show is kind of comic relief.
Yeah, you're the second Bananas.
Yeah, we're Fred and Ethel.
But so Carole, she did show up, and she just sort of called you and said, I'm coming. After all this, I'm going to come.
You know, she called us after the fact. Yeah. We were out for the evening. We came in. The phone was ringing. We just missed it. Picked up the message, and she said, "This is Carole. I want you to know I went to see the show today, and I want you to read it before you read it in the papers. I want you to hear it from me." And I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it.
But I understand the pain she went through.
Yes.
Because we went through it too. I mean, Jerry really had flipped out. And we got a call in the middle of the night, and it was Jerry, and he was kind of rambling on about he'll speak for Dylan and so forth. And this went on for about 2 or 3 nights until I finally said, "You got to get somebody over there." I mean, this is really.
What year was that?
64.
But it was in the mid-60s.
When they finally brought him to the hospital, you know, I cried. I was so relieved.
Yeah.
And Cynthia remembers that when it was happening, they were taking him away.
He called
us.
and he said, "I never thought you'd do this to me." Oh, God.
But then,
You know,
now we'll go 30 years later.
Yeah.
Jerry has lunch with me and he says, "Barry, I just want to thank you for doing
She saved his life.
Yeah.
Well, that was a time people didn't understand what was going to happen with drugs and
No,
things.
absolutely
Mental
not.
illness or
Yeah.
all this. Is he all right now? Because I know he's been to see the show.
Yeah, he's been to see the show. He has good
difficult.
days and bad days.
Yeah.
He has a tough time, but he's a brave guy.
I'm sure you've been asked this a million times, but I have to ask you, how did your marriage endure the show business? I mean, everyone around you must have been splitting up, peeling apart, running around.
We had a break for a while.
Yeah, we did. In the 80s, that's when it caught up with us. And we were apart for a year and a half. And then we got back together.
Craziness happened the same
Yes.
part of our lives.
Yeah.
But all right, can you play us out with one of your favorite songs, Susan?
And yours.
Here You Come Again. But there's a good story from Here You Come Again.
Yeah, I think that songwriters either take from their own experience or they listen very carefully to their friends' experiences. And we had a friend who was from Texas, and she was having an affair with a guy who kept making her feel terrific and then going out of her life, and then she'd call and cry, and we'd talk, and then she'd take him back, and I would always know with a certain sound in her voice that he was back in her life. And it inspired Here You Come Again.
For Dolly Parton.
For Dolly Parton.
Here you come again, just when I begun to get myself together. You waltz right in the door, just like you done before, and wrap my heart round your little finger. Here you come again, just when I'm about to make it work without you. You look into my eyes and lie those pretty lies, and pretty soon I'm wondering how I came to doubt you. All you gotta do is smile that smile, and there go my defenses. Leave it up to you, and in a little while you're messing up my mind and filling up my senses. Here you come again, looking better than a body has a right to, and shaking me up so that all I really know is here you come again. And here I go, yeah, here I go. Here you come again, and here I go. Here you come again, and here I go.
Barry Mann, Cynthia Weil, their songs are in the wonderful musical Beautiful at the Stephen Sondheim Theater. Don't miss it. It's my favorite show of the season.
And it's too late, baby, now it's too late. Oh, we really did try to make it. Something inside has died, and I can't hide, and I just can't fake it. Oh, no.
So, Michael,
We are gigantic fans of the musical Beautiful at the Stephen Sondheim Theater. It is the story of Carole King. And starring as Carole King is Jessie Mueller, who is giving, I think, one of the best performances I have ever seen on Broadway. It's subtle, it's gentle, it's heartbreaking, she sings beautifully, and she is our guest tonight on Theater Talk. How's that for an introduction?
Gosh, I'm done.
I'm on it. Well, you know what I admire?
You said it.
But what I admire so much about your performance is that it's not that sort of typical Broadway, brassy, big Ethel Merman type thing that we get from a lot of divas on Broadway now. I mean, this
couldn't
is
have been. I mean,
no, it's Carole King.
King. So
And yet still you manage to have the same kind of impact on an audience and the emotional impact that, let's say, an Idina Menzel might do in A Wicked or something like that. Was this a conscious decision on your part to play it as low-key as you do?
I mean, yes, kind of. I think at some point I realized that that's what the role required, because in looking at her and her career and researching, that's the thing that always stood out to me. She wasn't doing anything. She was just being, and she was just singing, and she was in the music, and so I felt like that needed to translate into the scene work as well, into the whole picture of it.
Jessie, you've really had what seems from the outside to be a meteoric Broadway career. We first saw you here on A Clear Day. What year was that?
That was
3 years ago, 2 years
3
ago?
years ago, I think.
3 years ago. Then you were marvelous in Drood, and then you took over for
Kelly over a Nice Work.
Yes, yes, so fast, so fast. I mean, your head must
Was
be
fast.
spinning.
It is a little bit still.
And suddenly you're a Broadway star.
Well,
Although
that's
already a
what people
Tony
tell me.
nominee. Yes.
I mean, it's very it's strange sometimes. I mean, I certainly am aware from the, well, even from my perspective, I was going to say from the outside how unusual it is. I'm aware how unusual it is, and I'm still becoming acquainted with the whole Broadway world. I started my career in Chicago. My folks are actors. All my siblings are actors. So I had this very sort of different perspective on the
You're
whole
from
thing.
Evanston, Illinois, right?
I'm from Evanston, Illinois.
Right.
And you said you lived there for a
Oh,
while?
I did live there for 5 years, yeah. But
I
do you
mean-
think your parents were preparing you to come to New York and have some kind of more success beyond theirs?
Gosh, I don't know if that was ever a conscious even notion. I mean, they were working actors raising 4 kids. I think they had plenty to concentrate on.
So it was just infectious what they were doing.
Did they, when you said, I want to be an actor, were they, oh God, why do you want to go through this? Or were they like, great, welcome to the club?
By the time I think most of us, myself and my siblings, came to them and said like, hey, I think I want to do this, they were like, all right, we've seen that you enjoy it, that you have an aptitude for it, so we're going to support you. But I think we also got a healthy dose of reality growing up as to, like you said, this month is good, this month I got nothing. You know what I mean? Like, and that's how it is. That's how it happened.
Carole came to the show the other night. She hadn't seen it before.
Oh my
She
gosh!
She didn't want to see it. I mean, I wrote in my columns that it was too painful for her, but she finally came. Of course, you knew she was coming.
No.
They didn't tell you she was coming?
No one knew. I'm so glad they didn't tell me. Are you kidding me? I would have been a wreck.
So how did that happen? So you finished the show and all of a sudden...
Finished the show, right? Well, we were told that there was going to be a camera crew there for the Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS, which is everyone at Broadway is collecting right now, for that brilliant organization. And Jared Spector, who plays Barry Mann, is brilliantly making the curtain speech about this. And he gets about halfway through, and he's talking about all the things they do, and I hear these gasps from the audience, and I'm thinking, what's going on? Oh, someone must be just truly affected by this. And I was like, no, something is going on. I was like, they're bringing something new out to auction. Like, we have a pony. I had no idea. And then all of a sudden, I see Jared like double over, and Carole comes on from stage right, in all her warmth and radiance and hair, and it's like, and she has a microphone, and we just, I mean, I'm like shaking thinking about it. Because I saw her, and I was like, oh my gosh, she's here. And then the second thought was, Jess, she's here because she just saw the show. Like, she just watched it. So then my mind is going, ooh, how did that go tonight?
You know, the word that I said backstage, I'm not going to say here, but it is effing awesome.
She was just wonderful. And she said, she was so gracious to us and to the audience. She sang a song. She helped us raise $30,000 for Broadway Cares. I mean...
Did you sing with her?
I tried. She goes, no, come here, and takes my hand and brings me out to sing You've Got a Friend with her. She told me, she's like, you take the melody. And I was like, I think I got about 2 words out and started to cry. And I was like, I can't. And I just motioned to the audience, like, please help me, please help me.
I come running, everybody sing, to see you again.
All right, well, Jessie Mueller is giving an absolutely terrific performance. I mean, really first rate in Beautiful, the Carole King musical at the Stephen Sondheim. And I think it's a fair bet, Susan, that Jessie might be in the mix for Tony nominations this season.
It's possible.
Entirely possible.
We're damn sure. All right.
She's an old showbiz ham. She's
No,
from
no,
the
no.
showbiz family.
All right,
It'd be
all right.
wonderful.
That's right. Thanks for being our guest.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
You just so good. See you again and again and again. You just bring summer ago. All you have to do is come, and I'll be there. Yes, I will. You got a friend. Ain't it good to know? Ain't it good to know? Ain't it good to know you got a
Our thanks to the Friends of Theater Talk for their significant contribution to this production. Theater Talk is made possible in part by the Frederick Lowe Foundation, the Cory and Bob Donnelly Charitable Fund, the Noel Coward Foundation, Carrie J. Fries, the Dorothy Strelson Foundation, plus public funds from the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs, the New York State Council on the Arts, a state agency, and the Theater Development Fund's Technical Accessibility Program, which helps provide closed captioning.
We welcome your questions or comments for Theater Talk. Thank you and good night.